guys, I'm Aaron from PhoneDog.com. The Galaxy Tab is finally here. It's available on Sprint, T-Mobile, and Verizon, and coming to AT&T in the coming weeks, and it's a great competitor to the iPad. It's an Android tablet, 7-inch display, 1 GHz processor, 3 megapixel camera, front-facing camera, a lot of goodies, even if it doesn't make phone calls. Is it a competitor to the iPad? Is it better? Is it worse? We'll find out about that and more in the review. So on the topic of messaging, the Gmail interface in Froyo, or Android 2.2, is a little bit different from Android 2.1 and past versions of Android. So let's take a look at the Gmail app, for example. I have one of my email accounts configured in here, and you can see, looks great on the 7-inch display. Really optimizes, makes it look the way it should look, and you can use it in portrait and landscape mode as usual. Now, one nice thing about the Gmail version, or version of Gmail rather, in Android 2.2, a couple things. One, you can add accounts by clicking where it says Old Man McTweety up there, and you can add from there versus going into the settings and hitting accounts. Minor thing, but still pretty cool. The big changes come in the header in one of these emails. So let's take a look at this one, for example. See, the header's a little bit different, so the redesign looks slightly different, and you can see the buttons over here have changed. It has star, reply, and the little button here to the side which you can click, and it opens up a range of options: reply, reply all, and forward. Now, one cool thing, you're reading through an email, you're halfway down, you're like, who in the heck sent me this email? Why am I reading this? Why am I halfway down? Well, first of all, why are you halfway down if you don't know who it is? But anyway, I've had that problem before, and when you scroll down, you notice the header stays at the top of the display. So when I'm scrolling down, I'm halfway through and thinking, who am I getting this email from? I can look right back up and it says Google Buzz. Nice touch on the Android 2.2 version of Gmail. Otherwise, very similar, other apps that are very similar to Android 2.2, the Marketplace, you'll see just a bigger version of it for the display, but you have your typical tabs up top, apps, games, and Verizon. Now let's just go to the first app as an example. You can see the dark gray color scheme here for Android 2.2. Let's go to Flash Player, for example. And you'll see, in Android 2.2 in the Marketplace, separated comments and about by tabs. Then you can allow automatic updating. So since this is a 2.2 enabled device, we can check that. And whenever there's an update to Flash Player, instead of it popping up and saying you have an update to Flash Player 10.1, if it allows automatic update, it'll download automatically. So nice little touch there. And with Android versions, it's very incremental upgrades from 2 to 2.1 to 2.2. And that's the case with Froyo on the Galaxy Tab. So let's take a look at the browser. Oh, first of all, I want to show you this, the digital frame. This is a cool little feature on the Galaxy Tab. You click on digital frame, and it brings up, in this instance, I have it selected to bring up 4 clocks in the United States. You have, my time, Charlotte, Chicago, Denver, San Francisco. And you can change that clock setting around by going to the clock style, and we can select, let's say, let's do the date one, the date and the time. So let's have a look here. Click OK. And it brings up the time and the calendar as well. And you can, of course, use that in either mode. So that's a pretty cool little feature. Not a big deal, but you can do music, clock styles. And it's a cool little place to leave it when you go to bed. So neat to see the times and have an organized place to see those. Let's have a look at the browser. Whoops. And we'll bring that up. Phone Dog's already loaded. Very cool. So, Android 2.2, Flash capable, as you know. And let's jump back here. Apparently I can't talk and browse the internet at the same time. Let's see. Okay, there's PhoneDog.com. Let's have a look at the pinch to zoom capabilities. I have to say, for a device that's running Flash, that's a pretty powerful pinch to zoom capability. Now, I've used it in daily use, and every now and again it bogs down, slows down a little bit. But for the most part, pretty smooth pinch to zoom capabilities. Like you see, it just stuttered a little bit there. Stuttered. You can see there. Pretty quick, easy to use. Otherwise, typical Android browser for the most part. Add bookmark. You can find something on the page. Download manager. Your brightness setting. Let's have a look at more. Share page, and then our typical settings here, where you can enable JavaScript, you can show pages, block pop-up windows, etc. Now on the Samsung version, kind of the Samsung customized version of the WebKit browser, you can go up here, you see where it says 1. We can click on that and bring up a new tab. So let's say we want to go to CNN. We'll bring up CNN. See, it's lagging a little bit right now, as you can see. CNN.com. And while that's loading, let's go back to Phone Dock. So as you can see, very easy, very simple, and easy to use. I want to add a bookmark. Here's our bookmarks that we have. Let's add one. Go to Phone Dog. Yes, it is the #1 news and editorial news and video site. Hit OK, and that's saved in the device. Now back forward, you know the rest, but for the most part, that's pretty cool. Little additions on the TouchWiz centric version of the browser. Go back to CNN and then pop back to Phone Dock. So in addition to the front-facing camera for video calling, things of that nature, you have a rear camera as well with a flash, 3 megapixels, and it's been a pretty decent camera. It's nothing to write home about by any means, but I've been relatively pleased with it. And it has the flash as well for low-lit situations. So let's take a look here at Verizon brochure, for example. We'll take a picture of mobile broadband data pricing. Take that, and we'll go into the gallery and have a look. Not bad at all, for a low-end, relatively low-end camera. You can see the text is clear, the colors are pretty crisp for the most part. And, granted, I have a lot of lights up here that are shining on it, but pretty pleased with the image quality. And then when you're in those low-lit situations, you have a flash. Now, editing options include, scene mode. You can turn the flash on and off, shooting mode, and then you can go in here and check your resolution, your white balance, effects, ISO, image quality, things of that nature. So, it's not, like I said, it's not anything to write home about in terms of the camera, but decent for those quick shots on the go. So before we get into some of the custom apps, I want to highlight the Task Manager, which is a Samsung application that comes pre-installed on this device and most of the other Galaxy S devices. But cool touch here, instead of downloading Advanced Task Killer from the Android market, I can go directly into this, see what's active, and close it. So it's a nice clean program that comes in the box on the Galaxy Tab. You can access it through the menu, through the Applications menu, or you can click Home and press and hold down Home and click Task Manager from there. So nice touch on that front. To change your brightness, your screen brightness, you can go up here and do it from the notifications bar. And you can also see Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, GPS, silent, orientation, lock. You can do all of that from the notifications bar there versus going into settings. So a nice touch. Now one thing you'll notice about the custom applications on the Galaxy Tab, the Android market's optimized mostly for phones. It's some tablet-centric applications are in there, but optimized mostly for phones. So you'll notice some of the programs are optimized for tablets. Some are still intended to be used on the phone. But for example, let's take a look at TweetDeck, and you can see it takes advantage of the 7-inch display. We can scroll up, and we can look at TweetDeck. And it's not a small application. It takes up the full 7 inches of the display, and you can see that. Now, if you go into an application like Fandango, for example, it's still in phone-only form, so when we open it up, we go to catch a movie, you can see it does not take up all of the 7-inch display, only takes up a little bit of it. So, depends on the application. There's some tablet-centric applications. Wall Street Journal is working on it. I believe it's already out now. But working on a tablet application for the Galaxy Tab, TweetDeck, and a few others. So those are available if you so choose. Now, of course, any type of review wouldn't be complete without quadrant standard and speed test tests. So let's start up our quadrant standard test. We're going to run the full benchmark and see how it does. Now, I've been pleased with this device. It doesn't make phone calls, but battery life has been good. It has a 4,000 milliamp battery, and Android's a battery hog, so I was a little bit concerned at the onset that battery wasn't going to make it through a full day with pretty heavy use. But I've been impressed so far. Used the web browser, downloaded some apps, played with some programs, and all in all, after a couple of heavy hours of use, it still made it through the day. So battery's decent. It has 2 gigabytes of internal storage and a 16 gigabyte micro SD card. So it's a little bit less than or a lot of bit less rather than the 16 gigabytes of internal memory on the T-Mobile version. But 2 gigabytes is enough, and the fortunate thing about Android 2.2 is you can store some of the apps to the SD card. So if you do get in a situation where you're running low or getting close to that 2 gigabytes, you have your 16 gig micro SD card slot, or micro SD card in the slot rather, ready to go, and you can store your apps on that thanks to Android 2.2 as well. So overall performance has been very good. That 1 gigahertz processor really shines. Had a few laggy moments, but not too bad. Now the device came in at 1,000 on the dot, a little bit lower than the Evo, the Droid X, both running 2.2, Nexus 1, G2, MyTouch 4G. But it's not terribly bad, and given that it's a tablet, it's a new benchmark, so we'll have to take a look at this versus some of the other tablets that come out in the coming months to get a real comparison of apples versus apples instead of, right now where it's kind of all phones and then tablet in the middle. Let's take a look at speed test, get an idea of what the network speeds are. We'll see here. Let's make sure it's on Charlotte. and we'll begin that test. This is an EVDO Revision A device. So let's see how the old Verizon network's performing this evening. Let's say about 1400 kilobits per second on the download. Let's see here. Yeah, 1388 kilobits per second on the download, and then on the upload, it just dropped about 200 maybe, 200 kilobits per second. 184 kilobits per second. So, you know, not the best speeds in the world. On average, when I was using this, I was averaging about 2,000 kilobits per second on the download, 2 megabits per second. Upload, about 1 megabit per second. You know, that said, Thanksgiving traffic, my office is right beside a major interstate, and as you can see, I'm beside the cell site, but I'm only getting 2 bars, 3 bars now. But, you know, so I'm sure it's being heavily taxed. So that's something to keep in mind when you look at these numbers. But still, you know, for EVDO Revision A, not great on the speed test numbers. Much more coverage to come on the Samsung Galaxy Tab on PhoneDog.com. You know, we'll have dogfights between this and the iPad and continuing coverage. So be sure to keep it locked on PhoneDog.com. In the meantime, be sure to like us on Facebook. Facebook.com/PhoneDog. We're giving away 100 iPads. And, you know, I find it funny that I'm plugging an iPad on the Galaxy Tab review. But hey, you know, a free product's a free product. So enter to win. Go to PhoneDog.com, like us, enter the sweepstakes, and you can win an iPad or even a trip to the Super Bowl. Be sure to follow me on Twitter as well, PhoneDog_Aaron, and ask me any questions you have about this device, any other device I've reviewed, or just general questions. I'd love to talk to you, and would love to hear from you. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.